Mexicans don't come to China for several reasons. All these things I'm going to mention are a dose of reality that hit me as soon as I arrived here in China, and I'm sharing them with you. Let's see what you think. Tell me what you think. Here are the reasons why Mexicans should never come to China. Number one, security. We've been given the idea that our cities in Latin America are unsafe and violent. That because there are so many of us, they tell us, no guys, look, it's a natural consequence of overpopulation. With more people, you'll have more crime and violent crime. But then, how come here, like this city with 30 million inhabitants, has such a low crime rate, and cities in China are the same? Are you going to realize that? A sad common denominator that contributes to our situation in our cities, which is that people don't show respect. I'm not saying there's no crime in China, of course there is. I'm also not claiming China is perfect or a paradise on earth. No, there's always someone in the comments who'll say, are you saying that China is perfect? No, just listen to the following fact. The big cities in Latin America, capital cities, medium and small cities, face high levels of violent crime, much more than here in China, with much less population. We face crimes such as homicides, armed robberies, kidnappings, and gang or drug-related violence. According to reports, this is caused by poverty, social inequality, corruption, weak institutions, and organized crime. These contribute to the problem. Yes, but here in China they also have these problems. And why doesn't it translate into the high levels of violence that we have in Latin America? Cities like Caracas in Venezuela, San Pedro Sula in Honduras, Ciudad Juárez, Mexico, Rio de Janeiro in Brazil are always ranked among the most violent in the world. The list rotates, but Latin America consistently holds at least half to three-quarters. Of the most violent cities in the world, only Mexico has some of the deadliest cities that have ever existed. And yes, the governments have implemented security and militarization policies, but the results have not been good. In some cases, they have reduced certain crimes, but they have also caused human rights abuses or displaced crime to other areas. The only observation I make here is that if China has 1,400,000,000 people, it has a much lower crime rate than Latin America, which has a much smaller population. Let's just stop and think why. Has the idea been sold to us through technology? That technological advancement, or being at the forefront of technological advancement in the world, is it only for economies that have been developed economies for decades? And when you get here, you realize that's not the case. We have the same capabilities as they do, so why don't we have cutting-edge technology? Why aren't we developing technological patents at lightning speed like they are? If we have their intelligence, they have nothing we lack. I'm not saying Mexico hasn't progressed, is stagnant, or not moving forward. Of course it has moved forward, it has improved, but we still have a long way to go, and honestly it hurts to admit it, but we're moving very slowly. Just look at China, they're moving at the speed of light. Look, I'll give you just one example, just one. Here I am, at the top of Shanghai. I'll show you where I am. Look, here I am. That building, look, the one that looks like a bottle opener, I'll show it to you from above. It looks like this. That area over there, that's the one known as PAN's area. And that one over there, look, this one, that's a station. It's a radio antenna. It's known as the Eastern Pearl. That one over there. Now compare it to how it was 25 years ago. Just compare it. A lot, almost everything you see here. It holds the title of the most something in the world. Its train network, the most efficient in the world, the one that was built the fastest in the world, the fastest in the world. This building has the fastest elevator in the world. And so, between the world's most this and that, inevitably you start to wonder, what have we been doing? We've been doing things for 200 years, but what exactly? You'll feel ashamed, like I do, that after 200 years as a third world country, we still haven't changed. When you see how much China has advanced in such a short time, honestly, it makes you feel a good kind of envy, but it also makes you feel ashamed. Inevitably, it makes you wonder, why not us? Because we've been in this situation for 200 years and China just look. In the last 20 years, China has made extraordinary progress in every sector. It went from being a developing country, just like Latin America, to becoming a global superpower. They weren't better off than us. The gross domestic product has grown more than tenfold since 2005. It's now the second largest economy in the world after the United States. Will they surpass them? Meanwhile, the economy has been relatively stagnant over the past decade. With low growth, high inequality, and persistent political and economic instability that hinders all development. Economic growth is low. Between 2013 and 2023, the region grew at an average of less than 1.5% per year, one of the lowest rates in the world. Some countries like Argentina and Venezuela even suffered economic contractions and hyperinflation. We're moving backwards. If the COVID-19 pandemic made the situation worse, it set us all back, pushed millions into poverty and political debt. This happened all over the world. But besides that, we have a dependence on raw materials. Many economies rely too much on exports of oil, copper, soybeans, all of this. This makes us very vulnerable to global price fluctuations. Is this what Zhongguo is overcoming? Add to this the fact that Latin America continues to be one of the most unequal regions in the world. A large part of the population works in the informal economy without access to benefits, job security, or political pensions. Frequent protests that block roads, corruption scandals that discourage foreign investment and long-term planning. They are more focused on elections and making my president popular than on any structural reform. This causes us to lose opportunities and innovation is lost. The region is lagging behind in technology, research and development and quality education, which keeps it from competing in the global knowledge economy. Are we trapped in this cycle? Look, the economy of Latin America is not collapsed. Our countries are not failed states, but it does perform well below its potential. And this is something you'll realize the day you set foot in China, and it will make you reflect. If you don't want to be disappointed in Latin America or get sad about how poorly we're performing, how badly we're doing, don't visit China, you'll feel ashamed. You'll realize that North America is no longer the world power. We grew up with the idea that the United States is the military commander of the world, but when you come here, you'll realize that's not the case. About 20 years ago, China and its army was seen as nothing more than a cheap copy of the little works or crumbs that Russia sent them. But that's no longer the case. China is an emerging military power that is going to reach the top of the world. Even if you don't see the United States as a declining power, even if you don't see them losing their military strength, China will become a military power for several key reasons. Massive investment in technology and modernization of its armed forces, more than any other country, and eventually more than the United States. At the same time, China has sustained economic growth that finances this military expansion. Development of advanced weapons such as hypersonic missiles and the use of artificial intelligence and cyber warfare. They're beating the United States in this. Add to that the large size of their army and national production, which reduced their dependence on foreign armies. This was accelerated by Trump's tariffs. These are just some of the reasons why China is positioning itself as an emerging military power that will have significant global capabilities. In my opinion and my prediction for the future, more than the United States, it depends on how you see it, whether this is something bad, something good, something sad, or something to celebrate. That's up to you. Hard work and work ethic. This will upset many people and make a lot of them angry. They'll say, that brown noser, he visits a country and immediately sides with them thinking he's one of them. Hard work. We've always heard that no one works harder than a Mexican. Actually, Mexico tops the list of the world's hardest working countries. It varies by source, but Mexico is always in the top three, with Colombia next. And so, there's already the stereotype that no one works harder than a Mexican. And I'm not saying it's not true. But here in China, you realize that, look, I have to give my respects to the Chinese work ethic. These guys are almost too good at working. They go overboard, they take it to the extreme. They'd rather work themselves to death than disappoint their Chinese boss. Even though it's not a daily occurrence, something that's not common, extremely normal, but it does happen. That people work until they die. Especially young professionals who are in technology, finance, and manufacturing face extreme pressure and long working hours. These cases of people who collapse and die while at work have brought national attention. And yes, they have tried to change their culture and avoid it, but they still have something called the 996 culture, which is working from 9 to 9, 6 days a week. And this is ingrained in their culture from a young age. The term 996 is quite common. This also has to do with the influence of Confucianism. The Chinese have great respect for education, discipline, and personal effort, which not only gives them that motivation to constantly improve yourself, but also not to give up, not to complain at work. Now, of course, sometimes this can become toxic and unhealthy, pushing yourself until you collapse. Slowly, this culture is changing and adapting to a culture with a strong work ethic. Here, Chinese culture places a high value on diligence and perseverance. From a young age, many learn that hard work is key to personal and family success. Families feel ashamed to have a lazy child, so there's that pressure to be as productive as possible. On top of that, they have a collective mindset, something we Hispanics lack. Chinese society is collectivist, which means the well-being of the group, family, company, or country is prioritized over the individual. This encourages loyalty to work and commitment to the team. It can be something positive because it gives you a teamwork mindset, but it can turn negative because it makes you loyal to the job and the boss before yourself. It also includes respect for authority in the workplace. Respect for hierarchy and superiors is fundamental here. Decisions usually follow a vertical order, and employees don't usually question their leaders directly, they simply obey. We've learned English since childhood. We were told that to be successful entrepreneurs and have multinational companies operating in several countries, it's essential to learn English. That it's the language of business, the universal language of entrepreneurs. And yes, it's true, but since China is going to be the largest economy in the world, if you really want to be an entrepreneur with a complete investment portfolio, investments in China can't be missing from yours. So learn English, yes, but also put some effort into learning the basics of Mandarin. English is no longer the only language you need to learn. Look, Mandarin hasn't reached the level of international dominance that English has. No, I wouldn't lie and say it has. But its importance keeps growing, especially in Asia, Africa, and Latin America. Its structure is complex. It has these Chinese characters and tonal pronunciation, so it's hard to learn for anyone, even for other Asians. Unlike English, it is not the dominant language in science, diplomacy, aviation, or the internet globally. But that's just for now, just like the United States, as China's influence keeps growing. The importance of Mandarin also, look, it's the most spoken language in the world by total number of native speakers. It has over 900 million native speakers and more than 1.1 billion total speakers. Now that China is the world's second largest economy, it aims to become the first. This is going to make Mandarin gain importance in trade, business, and diplomacy. Also in international education, more and more universities and schools around the world are offering Mandarin classes. The Chinese government also promotes the language through Confucius Institutes. You can find these in dozens of countries, as well as Chinese tech companies like Huawei, TikTok, and Alibaba. All those topics are gaining global presence. No one in the world can say they're a true successful investor without having stocks, bonds, and dividends. Here in China, you have to have them. Before we go to the last one, number one, let's look at an honorable mention. Honorable mention. Food. If you remember, Mexican food is a United Nations educational, scientific, and cultural organization World Heritage, and no one has such a variety of food. And when I went to Peru, I told them, hey, the food in Peru is really good. They said, yes, but it's Peru. It's like a state in Mexico. Each Mexican state has its own unique cuisine, and here it's very diverse. And is it true? But look, have a meal here, China, wow, go to a restaurant, just look at the menu of street food. Or if a friend from China invites you over and their mom cooks, just check it out. Every time I say Chinese cuisine rivals Mexican cuisine, millions get offended. Look, let's compare them really quickly. Mexican cuisine blends pre-Hispanic roots with Spanish, African, and Arab influences. Chinese cuisine has one of the world's oldest culinary traditions, spanning over 4,000 years, based on the philosophy of balance, yin and yang, and a deep connection with traditional medicine. Mexico's basic ingredients are corn, beans, chili, tomato, avocado, squash, and herbs like epazote and cilantro. In China, it's rice, soy noodles, tofu, soy sauce, ginger, garlic, scallions, rice vinegar, and sesame oil. All of that. Look, the Chinese food I had tried in Mexico or in Canada and the United States is nothing like the food here. It's like comparing Taco Bell to authentic Mexican food. I mean, I hadn't tried it until I came here to China. Mexican cuisine focuses on intense and spicy flavors, while Chinese cuisine seeks a balance between five flavors: sweet, salty, bitter, sour, and umami. Now, in terms of regional variety, Mexico's states each have unique food, like mole poblano, Yucatan's cochinita pibil, Jalisco's birria, and Oaxaca's tlayudas. Here in China, it's the same. It also has great regional diversity. Cantonese cuisine is mild, Sichuan is spicy, Shanghainese is sweet and sour, and northern food features more flour and noodles. Mexican food is a social celebration. Tortillas and tacos are part of daily life. In China, eating is also a central part of daily and family life. Dishes are shared in the center of the table. That's how they serve them. Now, in terms of global popularity, both cuisines are neck and neck. They are very influential and loved internationally. Mexican cuisine is known for tacos, guacamole, enchiladas, and salsas, with Taco Tuesday celebrated globally. Chinese cuisine is famous for noodles, dumplings, fried rice, Peking duck, and spring rolls. That's how close they are. This is a true clash of titans. And to finish the last one, here comes religion. Here's another very offensive one, religion. China is an officially atheist country. And I'm not saying there aren't people here who believe in God. Of course there are. There are also Christians. But officially the country is atheist, the government is atheist, and religions can't operate freely. Even so, they have a lot of prosperity, which is direct evidence. For those who claim Mexico hasn't progressed because people stopped worshipping a certain saint, to those who claim Mexico is this way because they upset a saint. If every citizen places an altar with a candle and a statue of Polano or so-and-so in their home, here is the proof. No, it's not about candles or worshipping statues or saints. I know I'm not well liked. A truth that's very hard for many to hear. Forgive me. And that's my opinion about things in China, which open your eyes to reality. And these are truths that are a bit hard for some people to accept. If these things upset or bother you, or you just don't want to see them, well, don't come to China. But it has been a very memorable experience for me. It has opened my eyes and perception, and it has broadened my perspective in an unimaginable way. I already knew that China was a wow economy, but once I came here, it completely exceeded my expectations. I highly recommend visiting China for vacation, sightseeing, food, dating, or investment. Stay courageous. See you next time.